Thank you, Senator Rosen. Good to have you here. Senator Kane, the Senate Foreign Relations Subcommittee on the Near East, South Asia, Central Asia, and Counterterrorism will come to order. I first want to thank our witnesses for being here today. We've got two great witnesses, and Senator Rosen for her partnership and your idea. This hearing was your idea, and I think it's a good one. As we continue our crucial work of counterterrorism oversight, this hearing represents an opportunity to analyze North Africa, a strategic region important to our national security interest. The 5 countries that make up this region, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt, occupy positions of geostrategic significance that directly impact global commerce and Western security. They control key maritime choke points, serve as gateways between Europe and sub-Saharan Africa, and sit within crucial energy corridors. Libya alone shares borders with 6 nations and has become a transit hub for arms, fighters, and illicit trafficking that threatens the Mediterranean. Egypt controls the Suez Canal, through which 12% of global trade passes. Morocco, of course, guards the Straits of Gibraltar. Political instability and governance challenges have created opportunities that terrorist organizations look to exploit. In the years following the ceasefire in Libya, the country's political fragmentation has contributed to internal instability and has prevented effective security coordination against shared threats. This fragmentation has allowed ISIS Libya and Al-Qaeda to maintain logistical networks to some degree, though the threat has been greatly diminished when compared with the previous decade. And in Egypt, one of the 3 U.S.-designated major non-NATO allies in the region, terrorist groups like ISIS Sinai have historically committed violence against government entities, Coptic Christians, and other civilian targets. Security gains have been made by joint counterterrorism efforts in recent years to reduce the threat and prevent mass attacks. Last month, I was pleased to see the Treasury Department designate the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood as a specially designated global terrorist group. This designation unlocks additional tools to combat the illicit financial networks that have legitimized terrorism and spread the group's influence globally. I really want to applaud the administration's efforts to disrupt terror networks that undermine our national security. Tunisia, another major non-NATO ally, has seen a significant reduction in Islamic militant violence since 2006, which demonstrates improvements in Tunisian security capacity. At the same time, we know that certain terror cells remain active in border regions, as evidenced by the recent death of a Tunisian police officer during a counterterrorism operation along the Algerian border. Algeria represents both opportunity and challenge. While Algeria maintains warm relations with Russia and has divergent foreign policy positions on issues like Israel and Iran, counterterrorism remains an area of bilateral cooperation. Lessons can be gleaned from our positive counterterrorism partnership with Morocco. As a major non-NATO ally since 2004, Morocco's comprehensive counterterrorism strategy, which successfully disrupted terrorist cells as recently as this year, combines enhanced security measures with multilateral coordination. North Africa's security gains are evident in that region, and that has not experienced a massive terrorist attack in almost a decade. While smaller incidents have occurred, the greatest threat North Africa currently faces is from spillover risk posed by Sahel-based groups. The Sahel region, including Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, has witnessed the rise of Jnim, which has grown into one of Africa's most potent Islamic terrorist groups. Jnim evolved from Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, an organization with Algerian roots that originated from the Islamist insurgencies of the 90s, which claimed thousands of lives, including 3 U.S. citizens that were killed in a 2013 attack on an Algerian gas plant. It's my understanding that this committee will soon convene a hearing on the Sahel, and I look forward to continuing this conversation as it relates to those threats. This hearing provides an opportunity to assess the progress made to counter threats and also better understand where we go from here. It's also been over 2 decades since the global war on terror started, and it's critical we learn from the failures, resist mission creep, while also leveraging strategic programming that bolsters regional security and involves our partners, our allies, paying their fair share. The Trump administration has taken decisive action to reshape the U.S. approach to counterterrorism, eliminate wasteful spending, and streamline bureaucracy. As the Department of State realigns its efforts with the administration's goals, Congress stands ready to work together. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses and to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to ensure the American taxpayer dollars are being spent effectively, that our personnel are positioned for success, and that we are doing everything necessary to protect the American people from terrorist threats emanating from North Africa and beyond. I am now happy to recognize the ranking member of this committee, Senator Rosen, for her opening remarks.
Well, thank you, Chairman McCormick, and thank you for you and your staff's cooperation in setting up the hearings that we've had and the good work that we are trying to do in this area. This hearing is extremely important, and I want to thank you to the witnesses for joining us today as well, because today's hearing is focused on a region that frequently just doesn't get enough attention, North Africa, also known as the Maghreb. Strategically located between Europe and the Middle East, the Sub-Saharan Africa, the countries of North Africa are important to U.S. national, economic, and energy security. The region deserves a deeper look at the immense opportunities as well as the unique challenges it experiences. While American attention has strayed from the region in recent decades, our nation has a long history of engagement with North Africa, with Morocco having the longest diplomatic relations with the U.S. of any other country, now celebrating 250 years of friendship. I was proud to visit Rabat in 2023 when I led the first ever bipartisan Senate delegation to the Abraham Accords countries, and I was struck by the Moroccan government's commitment to working with us to counter terrorism in the region, something I believe we must strongly continue to invest in. The current U.S. administration has demonstrated an interest in the Maghreb, prioritizing peace deals, regional stability, and trade and economic opportunities. Increased U.S. attention to the region is welcome, as China and Russia and Iran have significantly invested in North Africa for more than a decade, and they have succeeded in making critical inroads. This is not good. So for today's hearing, we'll be focused on the critical importance of counterterrorism efforts in the Maghreb. Since the height of ISIS, the region has experienced significant, steady decrease in violent terrorist attacks, in part thanks to U.S.-supported counterterrorism partnerships and countering violent extremist programs. Specifically, the U.S.-supported Trans-Sahara Counterterrorism Partnership has played a critical role in helping countries improve their own capacities in addressing terrorist threats and preventing the spread of violent extremism. It is always at their door. While we've seen immense progress, there continues to be the risk of terrorism across the Maghreb. Compounding this is the terrorist threat from the Sahel, which has become a global hotspot for terrorism in recent years. It is impossible now to think of the Sahel and North Africa as completely different regions. They're increasingly connected through overlapping dynamics that we cannot ignore. Violent extremists, they do not know any boundaries. They'll take advantage of weak states. They'll take advantage of porous borders, and this could risk stability, North Africa, the relative stability they've enjoyed for many years. So it's my hope that our witnesses will dive into the progress that has been achieved in the region and what U.S. efforts actually helped get us there and what we need to do to keep sustaining this. Given the strategic importance of the Maghreb, it is imperative that we continue to support counterterrorism partnerships in this region, given what's happening in the Sahel. At the same time, we must not be naive that recruitment to terrorist organizations will, frankly, ever stop, particularly in light of our foreign assistance cuts and the loss of expertise at USAID and across the State Department. U.S.-supported CVE programs have complemented our CT efforts by preventing the next generation of extremists. So I hope that we will discuss what the U.S. plans to do, not just to stop terrorism, but to prevent it from emerging. With that, Mr. Chairman, I look forward to discussing this topic today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rosen, and again, thanks for all the help getting this hearing up and running. I look forward to hearing from the insights of our witnesses from the State Department. Mr. Robert Palladino is the Senior Bureau Official of Near Eastern Affairs at the U.S. State Department. He is a career member of the Senior Foreign Service with extensive experience addressing critical foreign policy and national security challenges across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Thank you for being here. And Lieutenant Colonel Joe Borkert serves as the Deputy Coordinator for the Bureau of Counterterrorism at the U.S. State Department, where he leads programs and military coordination. Prior to this role, he was Chief of Staff of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, and he's also a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel and a decorated combat veteran. Thank you both for your willingness to serve our country and for your willingness to testify today. I'd like to remind our witnesses to try and keep your opening remarks to 5 minutes. Your submitted testimony will be entered into the record in full. Mr. Palladino, why don't we start with you?
Good afternoon, Chairman McCormick, Ranking Member Rosen, and distinguished members of the subcommittee. It is an honor. Thank you for the invitation to testify here today, and it's an honor, and I look forward to discussing how our counterterrorism efforts in North Africa advance our broader U.S. interests in the region. As the senior bureau official for the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs, my team and I work closely with the Bureau of Counterterrorism to counter terrorist threats across North Africa and the Middle East. It's through this collaboration that we're able to advance the President's vision for the region. First, NEA seeks to protect American citizens in the region by providing essential services that safeguard their personal well-being and commercial interests. Secondly, our diplomacy is focused on ensuring Middle Eastern conflicts and regional security threats do not threaten the United States directly. Third, we help counter destabilizing mass and illegal immigration by ensuring travel and migration consistent with U.S. law. And fourth, we support American businesses as they pursue opportunities for trade and profitable investment across the region. Countering and preventing terrorist threats in North Africa ensures that we can protect Americans, promote peace, and secure opportunities for increased American prosperity. We work closely with the Bureau of Counterterrorism to achieve these broader administration goals. NEA works with CT and interagency partners to identify and counter terrorist threats abroad before they reach our shores, while disrupting and destroying terrorist operations that target Americans and U.S. economic interests in the region. A key driver of NEA's work is to identify capable partners in the Middle East and North Africa and encourage them to take increased responsibility for both their own security and the security of their region. The United States is focusing resources on immediate threats to the U.S. homeland and emphasizing strategic burden shifting to capable partners to address local and regional threats. In this light, we have refocused our CT relationship with North African countries, with them taking primary responsibility for regional CT. In the 2010s, terrorism in North Africa represented a significant threat to the United States and our interests in the region. From Morocco to Egypt, terrorist attacks killed thousands, including Americans. And in response, the United States invested heavily in improving the counterterrorism capacity of North African partner countries. And as a result of our efforts, many of these countries have significantly degraded foreign terrorist organizations operating in their territories. As a reflection of the region's success in countering terrorist threats, we seek to encourage states such as Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia to become security exporters to the region. Morocco and Tunisia have benefited from multilateral military exercises such as Phoenix Express and African Lion, the largest joint military exercise on the continent, which the Moroccans and Tunisians have co-hosted for years. Major non-NATO allies Morocco and Tunisia have leveraged our deep security partnerships towards training security personnel from across sub-Saharan Africa on their own dime. Algeria's counterterrorism successes also make it a critical pillar of stability in the region. As the United States shifts our priorities and resources to the Western Hemisphere and Indo-Pacific region, as outlined in the President's National Security Strategy and the State Department's Agency Strategic Plan, we are counting on North African states to build on their successes and share their best practices with neighboring countries that are facing significant terrorist threats. For decades, CT has been at the center of many of our bilateral relationships with North African countries. And thanks to our productive CT relationship with these countries, we have partners we can work with to advance a number of the President's initiatives. A clear example is our work to counter threats from the Muslim Brotherhood and its violent ideology. We also look to North African countries to provide critical support to ensuring terrorist activity in the Sahel does not spread west to the Gulf of Guinea or north to regain a foothold in North Africa, where it would present a more immediate threat to the United States and our interests. In conclusion, with this committee's support, the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs intends to continue working with the Bureau of Counterterrorism and other bureaus across the State Department, as well as our interagency and regional partners, to counter terrorism, to protect the American people, to expand space for investment that will benefit the American people. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for your leadership on this topic, and I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Chairman McCormick, Ranking Member Rosen, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I'm extremely honored to testify before this subcommittee and to be joined by my colleague from the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs. I appreciate the chance to discuss the evolving terrorism landscape in North Africa and how the Department of State's Bureau of Counterterrorism is advancing this administration's security priorities. Preventing terrorist attacks on the American homeland is this administration's #1 counterterrorism objective, full stop. Every program, every dollar, every partnership is measured by the standard, does it make America safer, stronger, and more prosperous? Over the past year, guided by the principle of peace through strength, we have shifted from open-ended capacity building to targeted and decisive threat prevention. The Bureau of Counterterrorism plays a central role in shaping, implementing, and coordinating these efforts across the department and the interagency. Our focus is simple: disrupt terrorist networks, deter terrorist travel, and prevent threats overseas from becoming attacks on the U.S. soil. A core pillar of our strategy is strengthening frontline partners while shifting responsibility to those whose sovereignty and stability are directly at stake. Strong partners are force multipliers for American security. Our assistance prioritizes border and traveler screenings, watch listing, real-time information sharing, and counter-terrorist financing, the tools that actually stop attacks before they reach our homeland. While the territorial defeat of ISIS during the first Trump administration significantly degraded the group's capabilities, instability across the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Sahel continues to provide space for terrorist networks to operate. Weak borders, sparsely populated territories, and ongoing conflicts, including the activities of Iran's terrorist proxies, fuel radicalization and enable the free movement of fighters, weapons, and funds. In this environment, our approach is clear: prevent threats to the homeland forward, streamline our efforts, and require partners to carry their share of the fight. North Africa demonstrates what focused U.S. leadership combined with partner ownership can achieve. Over the past decade, U.S. support has helped our partners dismantle terrorist cells and disrupt attack plots. Just last month, U.S.-trained Tunisian forces eliminated an ISIS-affiliated cell and conducted additional operations against terrorist networks. At the same time, Morocco, having benefited from U.S.-supported counterterrorism programs, is now exporting security by training sub-Saharan gendarmeries using U.S.-provided curriculum. This is the model we are encouraging across the region: capable partners leading their own regional security. Despite these successes, the threat persists. That's why the Bureau of Counterterrorism continues to focus relentlessly on 3 priorities. First, stopping terrorists before they reach our borders by strengthening partner screening systems, expanding traveler information sharing, and improving aviation and border security. our work with Morocco, including aviation security program that resulted in a perfect TSA assessment at Casablanca International Airport, demonstrates the effectiveness of this targeted approach. Second, we use our counterterrorism designation authorities to cut off resources in operational space for terrorist groups. A recent example of this is our designations of the Muslim Brotherhood chapters in Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt, which provide critical tools to disrupt terrorist financing networks. And third, we are advancing President Trump's maximum pressure campaign against Iran by coordinating sanctions, mobilizing international partners, and countering Iran's terrorist proxies across the region. And since 2019, 18 governments have taken action against Hezbollah as a direct result of these efforts. At the end of the day, our counterterrorism strategy is simple: homeland security first, precision over permanence, and allies carrying their share of the burden. We will continue to focus resources on what works, eliminate ineffective programs, and partner with capable nations to prevent terrorist threats before they reach the United States. Thank you again for the opportunity to appear before you today. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you both for your testimony. At this point, we're going to do the question and answer section. I'll start with 5 minutes of questions, then Senator Rosen, and then we'll go back and forth. And we have a number of senators who are going to be stopping by, so we may move things around a bit to make sure everybody gets to ask their questions. So I'll start with you, Mr. Borkert. What is the current status of the State Department's CT programming in the region, and how does it align with the administration's approach to counterterrorism?
Yes, thank you for that question, Senator. Right now, we have roughly about $34 million of ongoing programs. They are primarily focused on aviation security, crisis response, border security, and counter-terrorist funding. This is aligned with this administration as it really is focused on protecting the homeland first. And so that's our number one objective, and that's really what our programs that we are investing in currently aim to do.
And if you look at the partnerships, in particular with Morocco, Tunisia, and Egypt as examples, what are cases where this positive counterterrorism partnership has yielded real results? Can you point out some specific examples?
Yes, Senator, I can. Thank you for that question. I think when it comes to Morocco, we see that they are becoming a net exporter of counterterrorist capability, particularly because of some of the training that they've been doing in the Sahel. If you look at Egypt, they have a counterterrorism training center focused on counter IEDs, and they have also been training African partners in order to be able to do that. On Tunisia, the example I stated in my opening testimony, they have a curriculum that they have been able to provide assistance, again, to African countries to their south.
Thank you. And Mr. Palladino, in what ways has the CT programming helped preserve space and access for diplomacy in countries like Algeria and Tunisia during these periods of internal instability?
Thank you, Senator. That's an important question. Finding areas on which we have common ground and finding areas in which we can cooperate together, despite other differences in views, is essential to advancing American interests. So the way we approach our diplomacy is done in a way in which we seek to emphasize what do we share in common and what goals are we trying to achieve together. Counterterrorism has proven to be extremely reliable in North Africa. It's something that we find eager partners willing to work with us. Thank you.
I want to ask a specific question about Egypt. Mr. Palladino, while Egypt has experienced a general decline in violent terrorist actions over the last decade, they still face numerous threats such as ISIS Sinai, instability in Libya, conflict in Sudan. How is Egypt managing these threats, and how are we supporting those efforts?
Thank you, Senator. Well, as you mentioned, they've largely defeated the ISIL Sinai Peninsula group, formerly known as ABM, as well as Harakat Sawad Misr and Al-Qaeda affiliated groups. They, before we did, designated the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization, and they welcomed our designation as well as validation of their longtime determination that the Muslim Brotherhood promotes extremism and destabilization that threatens our security and sovereignty. So they've been strong partners in that regard. They've also built the Sahel and Sahara Counterterrorism Center in Cairo. That's promoting counterintelligence sharing. That's been effective by our estimation, and they're doing their part as well to take on more of the burden sharing necessary to combat terrorism in the Sahel. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Senator Rosen?
Thank you. I want to follow up on your question here on the CT strategy in the Maghreb. So to both Mr. Borkert and Mr. Palladino, it is my understanding that the Trans-Sahara Counterterrorism Partnership, this program is still being implemented in the Maghreb, but I have concerns about how it is being implemented, given the significant changes that have taken place at state over the past year. So we'll start with Mr. Palladino and go over to Mr. Borkert, but where does the TSCTP, that's a mouthful, now sit within the State Department? And what bureau or office now serves as the lead implementer of the partnership? And how do other bureaus and offices within the State Department coordinate to execute the program? Or whoever wants to go first is fine.
Senator, thank you for that question. I will need to go back specifically to dig deeper into the TSCP specifically. The CT Bureau does lead when it comes to counterterrorism. We do have focused programs within that region, and that, again, are focusing on things like strong border screening, modern watch listing, real-time information sharing, counter-terrorist financing. Those are the efforts that we have focused our efforts on in the Maghreb.
I'll have my team reach out to get that information.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to countering violent extremism. To Mr. Borkert, poverty, lack of opportunity are some of the biggest drivers of violence and extremism in North Africa and around the globe. Yet, as a senior political appointee at USAID, you played a role in terminating programs that tried to address these challenges, including those focused on countering violent extremism. At state, we've seen the closure of the Bureau of Conflict Stabilization Operation and layoffs in the CT, INL, and other bureaus and offices, as well as cancellation of public diplomacy programs proven to counter terrorist recruitment efforts. These types of vital programs, they target the root causes of extremism and prevent vulnerable populations from being recruited by terrorist organizations. So, Mr. Borkert, are CT or NEA bureaus currently implementing any CVE programming in the region? And if so, do you have staff with the requisite expertise not only to design CVE programs, but also to monitor and evaluate their implementation? And then, Mr. Palladino, if you have something to add after that.
Yes, thank you for that question, Senator. We did go through a reorganization, and we did close the CVE office. However, through the assessment process, we've realized, we have retained the capability to continue to monitor risk in that area, both when it comes to the counterterrorism risk and then I would say some of the root drivers of that risk.
So let me ask you this question then. If you're closing that and you're just kind of monitoring, I have really concerns, serious concerns. We're focused only on addressing current CT threats and not thinking about preventing future threats. We're not being proactive. So do you think your respective bureaus have a role to play in supporting these efforts to address socioeconomic, governance, and developmental challenges in the Maghreb and beyond in order to prevent emerging CT threats?
Yes, our focus is on American First Foreign Assistance, as Secretary Rubio announced last year. So all of our foreign assistance and our security assistance is focused on protecting the homeland. We believe, particularly in the area of North Africa, that it's important that we have, that our partners in the region take on more responsibility, particularly in this
So if you think that we're not going to, if they know we're not watching, the threats are still going to be there. And so I think that you're taking your eye off the ball. Mr. Palladino, do you have something to add here?
I would just add that, thank you, Senator. I would add, you mentioned public diplomacy. We still maintain robust public diplomacy assets in North Africa that are active and are amplifying both U.S. messages and running exchange programs. Those are operations that continue and will continue, that will continue to do. Further, I would just add that my bureau and the Counterterrorism Bureau, we are meeting regularly and exchanging views and information, and the coordination is strong, and that's something that we'll also continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. If all right with you, Senator Scott, move to Senator Cruz? Yep. Okay, Senator Cruz?
Oh, do you want to go?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought, he has a tight timeline.
Oh, that's fine.
Would that be okay with you? Okay. Senator Cruz, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it, Senator Scott. Mr. Palladino, thank you for being here and testifying this afternoon. I'd like to ask you about the specifics of your testimony, and specifically two things you said in your written testimony back to back. You said that, quote, Algeria's counterterrorism successes also make it a critical pillar of stability in the region. Then in the very next paragraph you said, again I'm quoting, quote, we look to North African countries to provide critical support to ensuring terrorist activity in the Sahel does not spread. Now, I'm assuming that that somewhat opaque reference to terrorist activity in the Sahel is about the Polisario Front, though you didn't name the group. Iran is trying to turn the Polisario Front into the Houthis for West Africa, a proxy force capable of waging war to threaten regional stability and pressure U.S. partners whenever Iran wants leverage. The Polisario Front works with Iranian terrorist groups. It takes drones from the IRGC. It moves weapons and resources around the region, including to jihadists, and much more. I believe they should be designated as a terrorist group, and I've drafted a bill to do so if there is no change in their behavior. Before getting to any other questions, is that what you meant by, quote, terrorist activity in the Sahel? Were you talking about the Polisario Front?
It's an important question, Senator. Thank you. What I was referring to, well, what I would say in regards to the Polisario is President Trump has made clear his desire to achieve a lasting resolution to the problem in the Western Sahara, to that dispute. And as part of that, American policy currently is we are engaging all parties. And we're going to continue to pursue that for a lasting resolution, and we seek that because if we can get to that resolution, that is going to be our best shot at advancing peace and security, which will prevent further terrorist activity. Now, you mentioned designation, Senator, and I would just add, we're constantly assessing threats to the American homeland, and we have a process for that. It's something that we will continue to look at, and it, as the Secretary said, if we proceed, that will be grounded in the process and the evidence and the law. Thank you, Senator.
So I see that the opacity I referenced was not accidental, but was in fact deliberate, because in the full course of that answer, there was no direct indication that, yes, the terrorist activity in the Sahel is coming from the Polisario Front, and that is a significant blind spot in our counterterrorism posture. Do you assess right now that the Polisario Front poses a threat to U.S. interest in any sense, and if so, in what sense?
Senator, thank you, Senator. we're actively engaging all parties in the Western Sahara dispute in the interest of achieving a lasting and durable peace. That's the policy of the president, and we're seeking more time to continue to find a way to find common ground and to come to an agreement to stabilize the situation and allow there to be prosperity to follow based upon stability.
Well, I will say that answer was positively Shakespearean. It was full of sound and fury and yet signifying nothing. And by the way, I will say in terms of the president, I feel confident I've spent a lot more time with the president than you have, and he does not have any difficulty at all calling terrorists what they are. Mr. Borkert, let's see if we do any better with you. Iran has trained fighters from the Polisario Front, and Hezbollah has provided them with weapons. In your written testimony, you said that your bureau is working with North African countries to counter the threat from Iran and its proxies, and you specifically talked about groups tied to the IRGC and Hezbollah. You likewise did not specifically mention the Polisario Front. First of all, same question to you. When you talk about the threat posed to North African countries by Iran and its proxies, does that include the Polisario Front?
Senator, thank you for that question. We continue to monitor activities throughout North Africa. We continue to see if the IRGC and Hezbollah are their activities in that region and globally. And as we look at these activities, we will work with our partner countries in order to counter those threats and where possible designate or encourage those countries to designate the IRGC, Hezbollah, and those terrorist groups.
So I have to say, it seems to me you turned to your colleague and said, hold my beer. It certainly, let me just ask a final question to both of you. Were both of you instructed in this testimony not to say anything negative about the Polisario Front? Because it sure seems like you were.
Senator, I'm just trying to explain what we're trying to do policy-wise.
That's a yes or no question. Were you?
No, I received no instructions to that effect, Senator.
Senator, I received no instructions to those effects either.
So you just decided to go down that road for the heck of it. Okay, thank you.
Senator Shaheen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Ranking Member Rosen for holding this hearing, and Senator Murphy for giving me the opportunity to go ahead of him so I can get to another hearing. And thank you both for being here. As you've pointed out and the questions have indicated, we face critical issues in North Africa, including terrorism threats. This committee has moved the president's nominees to Morocco and Tunisia, who are now serving in those roles as ambassadors. However, 3 of the 5 North Africa posts remain vacant. What's worse, while the Senate confirmed those nominees, both male political nominees, the administration recalled the 2 female career ambassadors to Algeria and Egypt. Maybe they thought that was DEI because they were women, I don't know. But they are career ambassadors like you who have dedicated their careers to nonpartisan service for our country. And so I fail to see how recalling experienced career ambassadors when there are not others ready to take their place is in our interest. I think it's in America's interest to have confirmed ambassadors in every country around the world, and right now we are falling behind China dramatically. So can you both talk about the benefits of having confirmed ambassadors in place to address serious issues like counterterrorism? Mr. Palladino, you want to go first?
Thank you, Senator. That's an important question, and we do want to have the administration's team on the field and be fully represented. I appreciate the cooperation.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you not consider career ambassadors part of the president's team, no matter who the president is?
Senator, you referenced some specific ambassadors being recalled, and that's something that happens between administrations, and that is kind of the way the Foreign Service has worked often in the past. It's kind of the normal course of nature, and when that happens,
Well,
we have
Mr.
chargé
Palladino, that
d'affaires.
is not correct. I have been here I'm going on 18 years now. I've been on this committee for almost 18 years, and I have seen ambassadors come and go. And what I have seen is that career ambassadors are generally left in place until they are replaced by another nominee or another career ambassador. So don't tell me that that's the normal course of events, because I know it's not. And the fact is, when we don't have confirmed ambassadors on the ground, America's interests suffer. And I don't care how you can try and defend the fact that we don't have people on the ground, but we don't, and America's interests are suffering. I want to move on, because Algeria has been an important U.S. counterterrorism partner. They have seemed to be willing to turn away from Russia and toward the United States, not only in economic ties, but on military ties. But public reporting currently suggests that the Algerian government has purchased Russian fighter aircraft, and it's in talks to purchase even more because it would take too long to get American planes delivered. So can you speak, this may be for you, Mr. Borkert, but I'm not sure, but maybe it's for you, Mr. Palladino, what is the administration's thinking on CAATSA sanctions if Algeria does order a number of planes from Russia?
Thank you, Senator. We also have seen those media reports, and they're concerning. I would say that the Department of State is committed to upholding the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, and transactions like those that you have described, they may trigger that determination. This is something that we will watch closely, we could speak more offline, perhaps in a classified setting, in greater detail on the underlying content.
Well, can we talk about what we might be able to do to disincentivize Russian-Algeria cooperation on military purchases like those planes?
We work closely with the government in Algeria on issues where we find common ground. We certainly don't agree on many things, and this would be an example where the United States would have a problem. We approach the leadership and the governments as we find them, and we use the leverage that we have, often in private, diplomatically, to advance our interests and stop behavior which is not acceptable.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Scott?
I want to thank the chairman, ranking member, for this important hearing. I want to thank you for being here. The United States is constantly facing threats from around the world as evil, extremist groups seek to destroy our way of life, such as Islamic State in the Greater Sahara and in the West African province and across North Africa. These groups have evolved into cross-border terrorist networks known for exploiting weak governance, ungoverned spaces, and security vacuums. Meanwhile, Russian-backed Wagner mercenaries are rapidly increasing their presence, and these terrorist groups are spreading south toward coastal West Africa and north toward the Mediterranean, intersecting with migration and smuggling routes that directly affect European and ultimately our security and economic interests. For each of you, which of our partners in Europe and Africa have engaged on this issue, successfully delivered measurable security improvements, and earned the trust of local communities, and how should we support these efforts? If you can talk about some of them, and if each of you would answer.
Yes, Senator, thank you for that question. Sticking with our North African partners, I would highlight Morocco. They have been an excellent partner, I think, as we've discussed here. They are starting to export their capability to the countries of the Sahel. which we have concern about. I think they have concern about too, because that immediately impacts their region. Also highlight Tunisia. Tunisia has, based off of the support that we've provided them, they have engaged and have been constructive partners in the Sahel. And Algeria, of course, has always had a strong capability, and they do an excellent job of securing their border. And even in Libya, where there is some ungoverned space in the south, we've seen a lot of our programming being able to help them out. And they both groups there have taken counterterrorism seriously. And have done a good job of pushing most of the ISIS out of the main populated areas. And then, of course, Egypt has been a strong partner, and we've already highlighted what they have done with their counterterrorism training center. So I would say most of the countries across North Africa are an excellent example of what partner and burden shifting looks like, and we are appreciative of what they're doing.
And so you didn't address Europe, so you would say Europe's not doing anything?
Senator, I'd need to go back just to make sure. We are consistently engaging Europe. They have been constructive in the de-ISIS coalition. But again, we consistently talk to our European partners.
No. That's okay. Mr. Palladino.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I would concur with everything my colleague has said. Morocco is a major non-NATO ally, signatory to the Abraham Accords. Their counterterrorism capabilities, their training programs, their intelligence cooperation, these disrupt.
Let me shorten it. Has Europe done anything? Do you have anything you can say Europe has done?
Sir, what I'd say is Italy, for example, is very involved in assisting and preventing illegal migration, and efforts that the United States are able to do in North Africa that create
That's
space
one.
for Italy to do more. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask you both of you. What would you say strategic success in counterterrorism in North Africa looks like over the next 3 years? What would success be?
Sir, I would say success is, over the next 3 years, is we don't see a major attack emanating on the American homeland or our interests abroad. And then more specifically to our programs, that we would see that most of the programs that we have there are successfully complete, that our partner nations can actually carry out those programs on their own, that the objectives that we had established to begin with are achieved, that there's clear return on investment to the United States, and that these countries can continue to sustain the ability to conduct counterterrorism.
Yeah. Can I just finish? I met today with the ambassador that was let go in the Philippines. Philippines is a strategic ally. She was a career, and she's a wonderful person. I think we really do have to put a lot of effort into making sure that we continue to support our relationship with the Philippines. I think it starts with, we got to really look at our tariff rate with them and to see if it's appropriate, which when I look at it, it doesn't seem very appropriate. But I think we really have, it's a strategic ally in that part of the world, and I hope we'll put a lot of effort into it. Thanks, both of you.
Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses. Listen, my worry is that the underlying purpose of our policy in the Middle East today is not to counter terrorism, not to protect U.S. interests in the region, but to make the president rich. And I do think we need to talk about this today because over the weekend, it was revealed that a few days before the election, the President of the United States struck a secret deal with the United Arab Emirates, companies controlled by senior officials in the United Arab Emirates, to buy a 47% stake in one of the companies owned by the Trump family and the Witkoff family, with payouts of at least $187 million to the Trump family by the Emiratis, and at least $30 million to the Witkoff family. This is a stunning revelation. We've never, ever seen anything like this before. And I want to sort of understand to what degree the Bureau is integrated or independent from this kind of corruption. It's corruption, that's what it is. So just a simple question, Mr. Palladino, were you aware, you are the director of, essentially the acting director of the Bureau, were you aware that the United Arab Emirates had made this secret investment in the president's cryptocurrency company, or did you find out about it over the weekend like the rest of us?
Senator, I was not aware, and any further information about that, I would need to refer to the White House for response.
Out in the open a few months ago, similarly, companies controlled by senior government officials in the UAE financed a $2 billion investment in the cryptocurrency company Binance with President Trump's crypto coin, almost overnight making it one of the most valuable coins in the market. Were you aware of the negotiations happening between the Trump family and the UAE that led to that $2 billion purchase using the president's crypto coin?
Senator, I'm focused on the personnel of the State Department and our deployment to the field and the policies that we're asking.
Were you aware? I guess
but
my question is specific, and again, I know you're listen. I know you're not carrying out this corruption, but were you aware of the talks regarding that investment or involved in them in any way?
Senator, I don't have any facts one way or the other regarding the underlying, regarding the premise of your question, other than things that are in the newspaper.
These are just yes or no questions, just to get a sense of what your responsibilities are when it comes to your personal financial affairs. Yes or no, as a career member of the Senior Foreign Service overseeing our diplomatic engagement in the Middle East, is it permitted for you to use your public office for your own private gain?
No.
No. Are you prohibited by statute from taking official action that would have a direct and predictable effect on your financial interests?
I am.
You are. And your most recent posting was in Hungary. Yes or no? If you owned a private company in the United States, would it be legal for that private company that you own to accept investments from a Hungarian government official?
I don't believe so.
It's
No.
It's the right answer. It would not be. Why do we have these laws on the books that restrict you as a senior member of the State Department from intermingling your official actions with your private affairs? What's your understanding of the importance of those laws and restrictions?
The laws and restrictions are passed by the United States Congress to ensure that those who are serving the nation and have signed up to serve in the executive branch are faithfully in carrying out the United States Constitution and doing so in a way that serves the American people.
Thank you for that straightforward answer. Obviously, it was stunning to this committee and to the public to find out that the president had accepted an investment from a foreign government that is directly intertwined with our fight against counterterrorism. And then to also find out that months later, he had then gifted that country with an exceptional transfer of sensitive chip technology was even more stunning. We have these laws on the books for a reason, because we do not believe that you can carry out your duties on behalf of the American people if you are making money off of your position. And it stands to reason that it should matter to this committee and to the subcommittee that the President of the United States is not obeying the same ethical rules that are that you and your colleagues are subject to. I would hope that this would be a subject that the full committee would take up. It's just as important as the subject matter of this committee hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Rosen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to build on quickly just make a statement from what Senator Scott said and now Senator Murphy, because Mr. Borkert, you said earlier, we want to be clear that we're going to focus on return on investment to the U.S. in regards to counterterrorism. I would argue, based on both of my colleagues' comments and questions, that our return on investment is not financial, but protecting American lives. I'm going to move on now and talk about interconnectedness in the region. The Maghreb and the Sahel, increasingly connected by overlapping security dynamics. In Libya, the Islamic State once exerted territorial and governance control at a scale surpassed only by what it had achieved in Iraq and Syria. While public reporting indicates our presence in Libya has decreased, ISIS affiliates have established strong footholds throughout the Sahel, armed in a large part with small arms trafficked through Libya. While we must celebrate the CT successes we've had in North Africa, we cannot be naive. Again, to think about protecting the homeland, you cannot leave holes in the fences for terrorists to run through. So we cannot be naive that what's happening in the Sahel will stay there. I know we don't have a representative from the Africa Bureau here today, but Mr. Palladino, how do you see NEA working with AF to develop a coordinated response to address extremism and instability that spans the Maghreb and the Sahel?
Thank you, Senator. You mentioned Libya, and Libya is within our purview, and I think you're right to point out that political fragmentation there does create the opportunity for increased risk that could pour out and pour from there. So for Libya, we're very much focused on regularly speaking to leaders in both the East and West, and encouraging the Libyans to overcome divisions and to unify institutions and to focus on common interests in a way that's going to promote greater stability and greater peace. Those are the conditions that are going to create a more prosperous Libya and a Libya that is able to better police its own borders. So we're pleased at some of the progress that's been made, and of course there's much more work to be done.
So then you would agree we should start thinking about threats, CT threats in the Maghreb and Sahel in a more holistic manner. So Mr. Borkert, what might that look like in practice if we should and do think about these areas in a more holistic way?
Yes, Senator, thank you for that question. And I agree. I think we do need to look at these in a holistic way, and we do it at the Department of State. I think one of the advantage for the Bureau of Counterterrorism as a functional bureau, we discuss and talk a lot with all the regional bureaus. And so my colleague right here, Mr. Palladino, we talk real closely with NAA, but at the same time, we are in constant dialogue with the Africa Bureau. I was in Nigeria with some Africa Bureau colleagues just a few weeks ago. I have routine conversations with the Africa Bureau, and we are looking at these from a holistic perspective. One of the things that we're looking at in the Sahel is how do we have and maintain good situational understanding across that region? How do we work together in a more comprehensive way when it comes to information sharing with our regional partners in order to understand those threats and to be able to combat any type of threat that might be emanating from the Sahel? So I would say, again, I think from the Counterterrorism Bureau perspective, we are that linkage between NEA and AF, and we are, and I think we're doing a successful job of looking at it in a more strategic way.
So I have one last short question, but before that, just yes or no, would you agree that then America First requires and actually demands us to pay strong attention and think forward? Be forward-thinking about the challenges ahead of us around the world, and that would be the best way that we protect the homeland?
Senator, yes, I would agree. American First policy does think strategically with the objective of the American homeland being protected first, and we do that around the globe by working with our partners
Well.
to ensure that they're carrying on their fair share.
Let's hope so. My last question is about Tunisia backsliding. Senator Scott, again, talking about the region, Mr. Palladino. Tunisia's government under President Sayed is taking a concerning turn, to say the least, through consolidation of control over state institutions and significant human rights violations. At the same time, Tunisia, of course, is a reliable security partner in the fight against violent extremism. So do you think Tunisia can continue to be a reliable security partner while Sayed continues to crack down on the Tunisian people and what remains of Tunisia's democratic institutions?
Thank you, Senator. For the President and for Secretary Rubio, we've been clear that U.S. foreign policy must be focused on making America safer, stronger, more prosperous. And that means we have to seek opportunities for greater burden sharing by our partners for their own security. When dealing with Tunisia, this is the approach the strategic approach that it guides our interactions with Tunisia. Now, our security assistance is not an endorsement of political decisions being made in that country, but it is a tool to protect American interests. What we find in Tunisia, there are things that we can work with. And like the Tunisian armed forces, they're professional, they're apolitical, and they're one of the most trusted institutions in Tunisia. So we have something to work with, and there's progress, there's room for improvement, but at the same time, we need to stay focused on core American interests and dealing with the facts on the ground as we find them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Rosen, and we'll conclude with a question for each of you, and then we'll bring the hearing to an end. Mr. Borkert, start with you. Thank you, Senator. Thanks for putting this together. With ongoing counter-ISIS efforts in Syria and Iraq, what are you doing to ensure ISIS doesn't reconstitute somewhere else in the Sinai?
Senator, thank you for that question. I would say when it comes to ensuring that it doesn't reconstitute, particularly in North Africa, we continue to diplomatically engage to ensure that there's strong sustainability of their CT programs, and we are consistently monitoring and assessing the threat, and we're poised to rapidly and efficiently respond to risk to our interests in the region as needed. I think there is obviously concern when it comes to the detainees that are in northeast Syria, and we do have robust programs as we encourage countries across the Maghreb to take their detainees back to ensure that they're prosecuted, and then and then also rehabilitated if they plan on if they need to be released. So I would point to those two things to show that we are poised and trying to prevent any type of ISIS resurgence across that region.
Thank you. Mr. Palladino, does the U.S. believe Algeria's security cooperation with Russia enhances or undermines our regional efforts to combat ISIS and al-Qaeda affiliates?
Senator, anytime our partners are cooperating with strategic adversaries, that's something that we seek to dissuade them from doing. And whether it's China or Russia, these are things that we need to push back on vigorously, and we need to constantly work to find ways to protect the American people, ensure that our sovereignty is protected, and that's something we'll continue to do. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. A sincere thank you to both of you for attending today and providing us with the benefit of your testimony. For the information of members, the record will remain open until the close of business tomorrow. And for you as witnesses, we ask you to respond as promptly as possible to the questions you were asked that you didn't have answers to. Your responses will be made part of the record. With the thanks of the committee, this hearing is now adjourned.